Okay, we're going to go live. Okay, my video isn't working, right? I have to click the button, but yeah.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So we're back. We had a short break. Hope you guys also used the break to stretch your legs a bit. So we're back with our next team, Team Auriga, with their product Simplefin. So over to you. Please take.
No. Yeah, I'll start. Hey, so I'm Amit. I'm with Preet and Krishna. We're basically building an ecosystem of app services, and the end goal that we have is to have a product that not only does finance, but sort of personalizes for every individual user. So before we actually discuss this, we'll just actually have the video played, and we'll come back to this. Awkward pause. Hey everyone, I'm Amit and I'm one of the three people from Team Auriga. Preet and Krishna will be joining us in the Q&A right after. When I run you through Simplefin, imagine an ecosystem of apps, products and services that come together to create an experience that is truly individualized for your personal financial history. The first thing that we need when we're creating an app that is truly personalized is a way of onboarding you through a process that will create a dashboard that actually makes sense. So right from the get-go, we ask for your birth year. What this gives me is the demographic information that is required to figure out what are the things that are likely to be motivations and goals you're likely to have based on the transactional history that the framework will eventually give me. As soon as I have this, I build on this by giving you the five biggest things that you're most likely to need right now. And I let you customize your experience based on your subjective experiences. This allows me to not only build trust with you as an individual, but this ties into the bigger idea that personalization is not something that is completely AI controllable. It is something that is based on choice. You need to give me better hints, but you can't actually choose for me. As soon as we have this, we move on to the biggest thing that causes frustration for everyone, investments. How exactly do you understand mutual funds, stock markets, and bonds? This is where a simple question gives me a way to understand what would work best for you without having to create an algorithm that is so wide that I need to figure out how to do the machine learning to learn something that I could learn through a simple question. The thing that we still haven't figured out is how do you bring into account your community? That is what finance actually is. You don't never actually deal with money alone. It's a multiplayer experience. We have very robust features built for community sharing, sharing your personal information with other people. How exactly do you do finances between your fiance, with your family, with your teammates? This is something that the app will take care of. Finally, as soon as we onboard you with the account aggregator framework, we now come to the most important thing, privacy and consent. When you're building a personal finance app that takes so much information from you, you have to figure out a way to earn the person's respect. And the only way that's possible is if you actually follow through. The system that we're building will never actually touch your data. It will belong on your phone. Everything will be end-to-end encrypted, and all the algorithms will work on anonymized information on your local device. Once I do this, not only do I create a system that brings you to a home screen that is exactly what you would want, but it allows you to actually choose for the person what is most important for them. In this person's case, their account portfolio and their current primary bank account balance was the most important thing that we thought would be the thing that we should show. Now, imagine the ability of customizing your interface based on what you think is most important. I want to see what my spends are. How much did I spend in the past month on the various things that I had? How exactly would I know what exactly the stock market is like? So a micro lesson gives you a tiny amount of information, a nugget that is enough for you to actually decide this is something that works for me. Even if I've shown you all of this, it's still not amazing though. Like this is something that every app will build. And the problem is, how do you go further than that? This is where we thought, why are we restricted to the idea of just an app? Why not alternative experiences? Here, you have a simulation of a very complicated idea of a loan, but the loan is being given through a consent flow that works 100% on WhatsApp. The idea is we don't have to be attached to the interfaces that we've been taught are the ways of doing things. That is the biggest plus that we have with smartphones and the ability to create microservice-based applications based on the user's consent. As soon as you can implement a flow for something like a loan through the consent, through a user experience that is so fine-tuned, you have the ability of creating experiences that actually go beyond the borders of what we think of as generic apps in a way. In the long term, our vision is that if we can nail experiences like these in languages that are the things that most people don't have, this is something that will actually truly democratize the way finance actually works out. I hope this was relevant for you, and we would love to talk to you right after this. Thank you so much. Okay. Hey guys, we lost Free for 1 second. We'll be back in a second. So please, we'd like to actually begin by allowing you people to ask us questions, like whatever you would have.
Hey Amit, so one question from my side basically is that you showed us that you're customizing, right? And you want to build products on top of that. But maybe there are 100,000 people who have similar needs, right? Or similar profile and everything. They might not need a customization. So what's the point of customizing it to a unit T? The last point.
Understood. So this is the reason that we actually ask you a couple of questions when we're onboarding you. So the idea is that everyone has specific needs that they know that they want. So during the onboarding, those questions are supposed to create the first version of the interface that lets us put you in at least one box. So every app that's out there right now makes decisions.
Okay, I think we lost Amit there. So like what Amit was basically trying to come to is every app kind of expects you to like their app. Basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to establish a baseline. We're getting some baseline from the user from the questions that they ask. We're trying to build a UI from them, and then we're basically giving them Legos to build upon.
Just fine.
Okay, Amit, I think we lost you there for a minute.
Perfect, Preet. I think the connection is being a bit choppy, so whenever I get cut off, I'll actually let you cover it. So for the moment, was I actually clear? Did I actually manage to actually get through the point? I'm not sure how choppy I was.
Sorry, Amit, we couldn't hear your answer.
Okay, perfect. So I'll actually give it to you again. So imagine that if we take the example of your personal financial situation right now, and let's say your requirement was to say invest money or to work towards your retirement. If that is relevant for you, it might not necessarily be relevant for, let's say, Melissa. So from your perspective, our default interface would show those two most important things. But in Melissa's case, depending on the first set of questions that she picked, that's what would happen. If you actually saw the interface, right now it's not very clear that it's customizable. That is for a reason. So for the people who are power users, they'll automatically discover features that allows them to modify the thing. But for those who are not, we give them a starting default that actually makes more sense than a generic app that makes decisions for you in a way.
Okay. And you think the limited data that you guys are asking will help you to create maybe individual profiles for people?
Perfect. So this is actually the best question, by the way. I love questions like these. So what happened was that we have a very varied team right now. So I come from a background of consulting. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've applied for YC 6 times. I've interviewed with them twice. And we've worked with companies like Bombay Shirt Company where it's very high level B2C. Like they're doing choices where the retention rate for products is like 1%. Like that is the conversion rate that they have. So what we found out is that most machine learning algorithms don't have to be that smart. You need some basic data points that they work on to actually make very big term decisions. So imagine that if I know you're a 30-year-old and I get all the information from the account aggregator about what you do, I can actually put you in a demographic right now. I know you're a 30-year-old middle class person in Mumbai right now, and these are the things that you are likely to be interested in. Then if I actually take that and compare it to someone who's a 18-year-old, I can literally make decisions that most banks can't do right now because they never actually see that basic information like this actually allows you to sort out what the requirement. I'm so sorry. Oh, for a second, Sanjay, I got something from your end. But basically, that's what I was trying to get at, Harshvardhan. That the idea is that we are not going to ask for very complicated pieces of information, but the questions will be enough for us to make default pieces of decisions that will allow us eventually to build machine learning.
2 minutes.
So I was trying to understand if you were sitting in the AA context as an AA or as a FIU.
All right, so this is what we're trying to basically build. This was not covered in the pitch entirely, but with the widgets, so like our Legos that we're basically trying to offer, we're trying to create another whole vertical of ecosystems, wherein let's say for example, Fintify, the first team that presented today, they want to incorporate their entire group's application as a widget into our particular application. We'll give them software development kits to basically get a space in our application. Similar to that, we'll be basically offering SDKs, software development kits, for literally anybody who wants to build any sort of customization, any sort of verticals in our real estate that we're offering, which will be our application. We'll be wanting to work
Why
with
would
them.
why would a user come to you? Because till the widgets and it's really not worth much, right?
Oh, so I'll take this one, Preet. So basically, what happened was that okay,
So
Preet is a bit choppy. Yeah, Preet, I'll take this one. So imagine that basically what happens is when you build a personal finance app, right? Creating hype around an app is hard. No one wants to move away from the finance app that you're already using. My CA does things just fine. Why do I move to an app? So the idea that you have to have is that the app has to be something that you care about. It has to be something that actually brings the personal experience of switching being worthwhile for me. So imagine that with actually building the app in the open. So when we started building this a month ago, we have 24 people on our Telegram channel where we're posting updates and discussions are happening. We've actually reached out to people on Twitter. We've had designers reach out to us and expats from around the world saying, hey, can you actually add this feature for me? Because what we realized is that almost all personal finance apps are built in silos. They're built by banking institutions who are not talking to customers. The way you see finance, as an example, to someone inside the financial industry, is not how, as a customer, I see you. Because from my perspective, I don't care about your margins. I want the best service possible, and I want it in a way where it's actually customized for me rather than made the decision based on the cuts that the industry wants. That is the reason that our platform will actually audit and curate the people who actually use it. So the idea is that when a bank comes to us and says, hey, I want to offer mutual funds, I'll go, but you have to have good service. Like you can't have shit service and shit ways of dealing with the customer, because in the long term, the customer actually has the problem in India where I don't know what is happening. I don't know as to what they do in those walls behind the thing, what exactly is happening with my money. That is the reason when Zerodha came in, it changed the industry in a way. Because I could actually see what exactly is happening. And they're basically doing things that no one did, even though they were very easy because the technology is already there in a way. Like Preet is 19. We have Krishna with us who's lost $1.5 million in the crypto market. He knows more about blockchain than most of us. And that is the reason we're trying to build a product that actually is taking into account these things that have happened with us in a way. Like fixing the problems that we have rather than what the financial industry has. Because we don't care about finance. We care about how the finance industry for us. 19, 31, and Krishna, who's
So Amit, I loved your passion and the creativity of your team, and it sounded like you had a lot of thought through ideas in different kinds of substreams. So how much of what you have been sharing is real at this point of time?
So what is real right now? So the WhatsApp thing that we demonstrated, which we did not talk about in this panel right now, is working right now. We have the entire technical stack working there. In terms of the application that we demonstrated, it's not ready right now. If you are about to say go ahead with this full steam ahead, we'd have a full rollout plan, which would take about 2-3 months in average. That would be my an idealistic number to pitch in terms of how much time it would take.
Sorry, from my end, did you integrate with any account aggregator?
Oh, yes. So we have one money done. So the WhatsApp thing where we're demonstrating the whole account aggregator flow, that's done through the Money One APIs that they've given us.
So it's possible to give consent and share data.
Yeah, everything works. We can try it out. Everything works. It's
So
done.
can we, Ariman, is it okay if we just drill for a moment into that WhatsApp example?
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
So
please.
clearly the pursuit of using different kinds of much more natural, intuitive exchange mechanisms is correct. So somebody said, I want to loan for 4,200, and you said approved. So there was a bunch of things that went on behind the scenes when you came back and said approved. Can you just tell me exactly what those things were at that point?
Okay, so I'm taking this question, team. So here's the way we've thought about the process. So when you ask for 40 to 100 questions, so right now it's not being demonstrated in the WhatsApp video, but we already have a pre-approved consent. So like in at a previous time, we pre-approved the consent, so we already have the account aggregator consent approval. Now, once we have that, we already have access to their bank account, their bank account information. So we fetch that information. We already have like 6 to 8 months of information. Once we have that, we can basically calculate, hey, this person is a good spender. He spends nice. He's taken previous loans. He's financially stable, basically. Now, once we have that number, we can basically say, okay, we should give you a loan, basically. That's our baseline. Now, one more thing that's very important to consider is these are micro loans. We're demonstrating them as micro loans, not 10 lakh loans. So that's one more important thing to consider. Once we have that, we can basically say, yeah, you're financially stable and you will be hypothetically, like in our universe, you'll be able to pay us back the loan. Once we have that, we just approve the loans, and given we're utilizing the full power of the Indie Stack, where we'll be sending them the loan using UPI, basically. And if required, we could talk about the return process, where we put quite a bit of thought on that. We could talk about that if that's required right now.
And so you'll also be the primary funder.
No, we just process the information, and our idea is to tie up with banks, because none of us have any experience in underwriting loans, so we don't have any credit models or anything. So we just process the information and we give it to the banks or any financial institutions, and they can take underwrite the loan.
Any other questions from the judge?
I think Melissa is speaking. I can't hear her.
No, Melissa, looks like we're unable to hear you. If you could refresh your browser, then maybe we'll wait for you to come back.
In the meantime, we'd love to take more questions. We'd love to percolate more and come up with like challenges that
So we've actually gone over time, and in the interest of fairness, I don't want to take any more questions. Only if Melissa she's in the middle of if she has a question, we can take hers, but otherwise, no more.
Just a quick clarification. You can hear me?
Yes.
No.
That you showed us, the UX, is that one example of a consumer app that would be built on this ecosystem that you're building, or the entry point to the whole ecosystem?
So let me take this straight. So basically, imagine that we're using something equivalent to the new iOS model that the iPhone has right now. So the idea is that it's built on the idea of widgets. So it's the entry point for a set of widgets that will allow you to do things in different ways. So everything that you saw on the home screen was literally a little box, and the boxes can be anything that you can imagine. Everything that you've ever imagined from the context of
Makes sense.
Guys,
thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, team Auriga with the product Simplefin. I'll be removing you guys from stage. Great job. The next team we have is Team Kudos. And before we come back with that team, we'll take a short break. So we'll be back in just